looks like it's going to charge.
But Varla, I don't have any money on me.
With Jasper on you, I'll never know.
Did I mention the thing he'd like me to do with my,
Quiet girl, we've got some prime rib to prepare.
The House of the Dead franchise has some of the most terrifying bosses to encounter. You can make it through the hordes of zombies and slithering creatures, but these bosses will ensure that you don't go any further. So prepare to dive into 6 of the most nightmarish bosses in the House of the Dead series. There may be stronger bosses than the ones shown on this list, but we're looking into the most terrifying of them all. Starting with the Fool. The Fool is an enormously deformed carnivorous sloth that lives in a cage inside the EFI genome ward. But unlike your average sloth, this monstrosity moves quickly around its cage, heading towards the player ready to slash away with its lethal claws. It appeared in the House of the Dead 3, and what's even more terrifying about this creature is the fact that it hangs its victims in its ceiling, decorating its nest with the corpses of anyone who stumbled upon his cage. Some of them may have been workers in that area, but others could have been an example of those who tried taking this creature down, and were met with a fate much worse than others. The only way to take this creature down is by shooting its claws and preventing it from coming any closer, and if you do manage to keep your distance from it, it will leap towards you and strike much easier unless you can shoot its claws before they reach you. Another of its deadly tricks is to shake its cage, dropping many corpses on top of you. Like all boss fights, you must act fast and catch the creature's movements to anticipate where its claws will be for easier shots to bring it down. But if you fail, you will likely become another piece of its decorative ceiling. The Hierophant. The Hierophant is the second boss you encounter in the House of the Dead 2. This boss is a frightening sea creature wielding a trident. It uses this weapon to slash at its victims, as well as summoning the deadly mowfish to leap on its prey with vicious bites from each and every one of them. If the Hierophant senses that its efforts are not working to kill its prey, it will then flee into the water and then leap into the air in an attempt to impale its trident through its victims. This boss is quite powerful, as it was capable of destroying a large portion of the Sunset Bridge, with many survivors still on it, attempting to flee the area. Just imagine trying to cross a river bridge when suddenly you run into this deadly sea creature that's ready to cut you open with its trident, and will summon piranha-like fish to leap towards you if you attempt to escape. Its only weakness lies within shooting its heart, but its thick ribcage can protect it from taking any damage. However, it opens up, exposing its heart while fighting it, so you must wait for an opening in order to strike, which can be difficult, but not impossible. The Priestess. The Priestess is not at all what it sounds like. This creature happens to be a mutated cephalopod that guards Thornheart's underground lab inside the Scarecrow Mansion in House of the Dead Scarlet Dawn. This giant cephalopod has the ability to survive in any terrain. Its appearance is quite terrifying. This creature uses its tentacles to attack its prey from a far distance, and one can only imagine how it devours its prey if one could not defeat it or escape from its razor-sharp claws. Her eyes are her weak spot, but it is very difficult trying to shoot her weak spot when her tentacles need to be targeted as well, otherwise you'll be taking damage. Her shrieks are even startling once it's taken damage. In the end, the only way to get rid of the Priestess for good is by using an explosive substance near her and using incendiary rounds, which will cause her to quickly catch on fire and explode. One thing for sure is that the Priestess boss strongly resembles William Birkin's final form in Resident Evil 2. Meet Katie. Meet Katie is a boss in the extended cut of the House of the Dead Overkill. She appears in the creeping flesh level, where she awaits for anyone crazy enough to step into the meat plant. Katie is a grotesque mutated butcher woman wearing a cow skull and carrying a giant meat cleaver as her weapon. But what's unexplainable is the fact that she appears to be combined with the genes of a cow. Part of her left leg has mutated into a cow's leg, and she even has the udder of a cow attached to her body, which happens to be her weak spot. Nothing could be more terrifying than to meet the same fate as Meet Katie, or to be butchered by Katie herself. The Magician. The Magician has made the most appearances as a boss in the House of the Dead games. He is the final boss of the first House of the Dead game and reappears in the sequel as the sub-boss you must face off against before taking on the real final boss. Then in the House of the Dead 4 special, he makes yet another appearance, resurrected as the final boss. He is incredibly fast and dangerous as he will always use pyrokinetic attacks against the player, and he possesses the ability to levitate and even teleport. He is indeed one of the most difficult bosses to defeat. His weak points are shown as unknown in his first and third appearances, but as shown in the House of the Dead 2, his weak points are the pulsating areas in his body, giving you enough spots to target and bring him down, but hitting those areas is the challenge. Strength. This is the worst thing you could ever run into. A giant humanoid abomination wielding a chainsaw, swinging it towards you while sprinting fast enough to catch up to you, giving you no other option but to fight back and shoot him straight in the face while running away from him. This brute has axe blades lodged in his right shoulder and left thigh, to which he uses by pulling them out and throwing them at his targets, serving as a long distance attack that you would not expect. These are just some of the strong characteristics that make the strength boss much scarier than the Empress, a boss that wields a giant dual-sided chainsaw in the House of the Dead 4. They may have the same weaknesses and weapon, and the Empress is basically an upgrade of strength, but it's the appearance of the strength boss and its environment that help build a tense situation against the player. When you encounter the Empress, her appearance is more like a cyborg than a humanoid creature, and it doesn't help that her fight takes place inside a subway train, making her weak spot be an easy target seeing as she's too big to move from side to side. She does have very similar attacks to strength attacks, but it's more of an exciting boss fight and not a scary or difficult boss fight at all. Strength's environment appears to be a maze inside a huge coliseum. Strength will use his chainsaw to cover most of his face, making it difficult to hit his weak point. He will even surprise the player by breaking through the walls, so you don't know exactly where he'll appear next. He is one of the most difficult bosses to defeat, and in the game's story, Harry Harris and Amy Crystal had confronted Strength before James and Gary reached this chainsaw boss, but they failed to take him down, and Harry was severely injured in the process. So you better be prepared with plenty of extra lives or extra quarters. And with that said, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if so, be sure to leave a like, share with others, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you'd like to see some extra content, or you'd like to see your name at the end of the videos, then feel free to support the channel by donating a single $1 to my Patreon. There are also additional perks for donating more than $1. The link is on the description, along with the link to my Facebook page, Tumblr, DeviantArt, and Twitter. But anyways, I'll see you all in the next video, and remember to have an awesome day.